There's a phone call coming your way, Gemini, and the person on the other end, they've already been to a reader about you. They sat across from someone, pulled cards, and what came back shook them. Not softly, not gently. We're talking rage, we're talking fear. The kind that makes your knees give out. Something about you lives rent-free in their head, and they cannot explain it, and that terrifies them. So before we dive into these cards together, a gentle reminder, this reading is collective energy, pulled for Geminis tuning in at exactly the right moment. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. This is for reflection and healing, not a substitute for your own intuition or professional guidance. Now, let's talk about what the cards are saying, because the energy in this spread, it did not come to play quietly. Two knights side by side. That's not a coincidence, that's pressure. The Knight of Wands brings fire, impulse, someone who acts before they think. The Knight of Swords, pure mental force, sharp, cutting, relentless. Together, these two tell a story of someone who is moving fast and feeling everything at once. Now glance over at the Three of Cups. This isn't just about you, Gemini. There are other people involved, conversations happening behind closed doors, readings being pulled, opinions being shared. Someone in their circle knows about you, and the energy swirling around all three of these cards together, it's chaotic, it's charged, and underneath the rage and the fear that sent them running to a reader, there is something they simply cannot let go of. That kind of energy doesn't come from indifference, Gemini. It comes from someone who still deeply cares. Let's talk about this Knight of Wands, because this card is loud. The Knight of Wands is someone who moves on pure instinct. No planning, no patience, just fire in their chest and momentum in their feet. And in this reading, this energy points directly at the person who went looking for answers about you, Gemini. Think about what that actually means. They didn't sit quietly with their feelings, they didn't journal it out, didn't talk to a friend, didn't sleep on it, they acted. Impulsively, urgently, they sought out a reader because something about you is burning inside them and they needed someone, anyone, to make sense of it. That is Knight of Wands energy in its rawest form. Now here's the psychology behind this. When someone reacts this impulsively, it's rarely about the other person, it's about them. Psychologists call this emotional reactivity, when our nervous system gets so overwhelmed by unresolved feelings that we bypass logic entirely and just move, chase, seek, demand answers. And what did they find when they sat down for that reading? Something that struck them hard enough to bring rage, hard enough to bring fear, hard enough, apparently, to bring them to their knees. The Knight of Wands doesn't back down easily, but Gemini, neither do you. This card is also reflecting your energy back at them. Your presence, your confidence, the way you carry yourself, it ignited something in them that they are still trying to understand. That call that's coming, the Knight of Wands says it's being fueled by everything they've been holding back and it is almost ready to break the surface. The question is, Gemini, when that call finally comes through, will you answer it from a place of power? Or will you let their chaos pull you back into something you've already outgrown? Now the Knight of Swords. If the Knight of Wands was the impulse, this one is the aftermath. The Knight of Swords is mental energy at full speed, a mind that won't stop running, thoughts that circle back at 2 a.m. and demand to be heard. This is what happened inside them after that reading, Gemini. Whatever the cards revealed, it cut through every defense they had, and instead of softening them, it sharpened them. The Knight of Swords in this position tells me there are words being prepared, calculated, pointed, intentional words. That call coming your way isn't just emotional, it's armed. They've been rehearsing, replaying, building a case in their head. But here's what this card also reveals. All that mental sharpness, it's covering something much more vulnerable underneath. And the rage the card showed them, it scared them, Gemini. Because even they didn't realize how deep this still goes. And now, the Three of Cups. This card stopped me for a moment when it came out, because at first glance, the Three of Cups looks like a celebration. Three figures, raised glasses, joy, connection. But sitting here between two charging knights, it tells a completely different story. Someone in their circle knows Gemini. Not just suspects, knows. There have been conversations, maybe over drinks, maybe in a group chat at midnight, maybe whispered between people who all share one thing in common, an opinion about you. And that opinion? It's been fueling this person's fire far more than they'd like to admit. The Three of Cups in this position points to outside influence. Someone, a friend, a mutual, possibly more than one person encouraged them to seek out that reading, maybe even went with them. Maybe sat across the table and nodded along as the cards laid out a story that hit too close to home. And here's where it gets interesting. Because the Three of Cups also carries the energy of the past. Think back, Gemini, there was a time when things between you felt lighter, easier. There may have even been moments that felt like something worth celebrating. That history, it's still alive in this person's memory, and it is absolutely coloring everything they're feeling right now. The rage the reader saw, the fear that brought them to their knees, it didn't come from hatred. It came from someone who remembers what it felt like when things were good, and cannot reconcile that memory with where things stand today. But I want you to pay attention to something the Three of Cups is whispering underneath all of this. The people around them, the conversations, the readings, none of it is bringing them peace. They are seeking validation in every external place possible because internally, they are completely unraveled. And that call that's coming, Gemini, the Three of Cups, says it won't just be their voice on the other end. It will carry the weight of everyone who has been whispering in their ear. Every opinion, every theory, every fear. Be ready for that. But here's what the Three of Cups ultimately reminds you, Gemini. No matter how many people are in their corner right now, no matter how many voices are feeding this energy, they still picked up the phone. They still came looking. And that was a choice only they could make. And then, the devil shows up. Of course it does. This card doesn't sugarcoat anything, Gemini, and neither will I. The devil is obsession. It's the chain you keep wearing even when the lock was never actually closed. It's the thought you swore you were done with that somehow finds its way back at the worst possible moment. And in this reading, the devil is sitting squarely in their energy. That reading they went to, it didn't free them. It fed the obsession. Because here's the thing about the devil card. It thrives on secrecy, on fixation, on the story we tell ourselves in the dark when nobody else is watching. They went looking for closure and instead found confirmation of everything they've been feeling but couldn't say out loud. That's what brought the rage. That's what brought the fear. The devil also speaks to patterns, Gemini. Cycles that repeat because somewhere, on some level, there's a part of them that isn't ready to let this go. Not truly. The anger is real, but underneath it runs something much more complicated. Something that looks a lot like attachment dressed up as resentment. And for you, the devil is a reminder to stay clear-eyed about what's coming. That call, those words being prepared by the Knight of Swords, the voices of the Three of Cups crowd, all of it carries the devil's energy of pull, of temptation to re-engage, to explain yourself, to step back into a dynamic you've already walked away from. Don't let the chain find your wrist again, Gemini. Because the devil's greatest trick is making you feel like you owe someone an explanation, like their pain is your responsibility to fix. Like picking up that call and stepping back into their chaos is somehow the compassionate thing to do, when really, Gemini, it's just the familiar thing, and familiar isn't always safe. And now, the Two of Cups. After the devil, after the rage and the fear and the obsession, this card lands like a quiet exhale. The Two of Cups is connection, real, genuine, soul-level connection. Two figures facing each other, cups raised, a bond that feels like recognition, like finally. But here's where I need you to sit with this for a moment, Gemini. The Two of Cups appearing in the spread isn't just nostalgic energy, it's evidence. Evidence that whatever existed between you and this person at some point was real. Not imagined, not one-sided, not just convenience. There was something there that both of you felt, a thread that connected you in a way that doesn't just disappear. And that is exactly why everything else in this spread is so charged. You don't go to a reader about someone you never cared about. You don't fall to the ground from rage and fear over someone who meant nothing. The Two of Cups is sitting underneath all of this chaos, like a foundation that refuses to crumble, and both of you can feel it, even now. Even through the distance, through the silence, through whatever happened that brought you to this point. Now let me tell you what this means for that call that's coming. The Two of Cups tells me that beneath every sharp word the Knight of Swords has been preparing, beneath the obsession the devil has been feeding, beneath the crowd of voices from the Three of Cups, there is a part of this person that still sees you. Not the story they've been telling, not the version their friends have been reinforcing. You. The real connection, the thing that made them raise their cup in the first place. And that terrifies them more than anything else. Because Gemini, here's what the Two of Cups is really whispering in this reading. The anger was never really about anger. The fear was never really about fear. It's about someone standing at the edge of something they walked away from, or were walked away from, and realizing that the door in their heart never fully closed. That reading they went to, deep down, I think they were hoping the cards would tell them to move on, give them permission, confirm that what they felt wasn't real. Instead, the cards showed them the Two of Cups. And that, Gemini, is what brought them to their knees. So when that call comes through, understand that you are not just receiving a phone call, Gemini. You are receiving someone's last attempt to make sense of a connection that has refused, no matter how hard they've tried, to simply fade away. Let's take a step back and look at what these 5 cards are telling us as a whole. You have 2 knights charging forward, impulse and intention moving at full speed. You have a circle of outside voices feeding the fire. You have the devil locking someone into a cycle they keep choosing over and over again, and underneath all of it, the Two of Cups. That quiet, undeniable truth that started everything. This isn't someone who has moved on, Gemini. This is someone in motion, restless, reactive, surrounded by noise but anchored to something they cannot name and cannot release. That call is coming from a place much deeper than anger, much deeper than fear. It's coming from unfinished business. So now, let me pick up the deck and give it a really thorough shuffle, because what's coming next is the part of this reading I want to be very intentional about. These next 5 cards are going to take us deeper, Gemini, past the surface energy, past what they are feeling, and into what is actually moving beneath all of this. What's coming? What's possible? And what you need to know before that call arrives. Let's see what the cards have to say. Temperance. After everything we just moved through, the charging knights, the obsession, the unfinished connection, Temperance walks in like someone who has seen it all before and simply refuses to be rushed. This card is an angel standing at the edge of water, pouring liquid between 2 cups with perfect, measured patience, not spilling a drop, not hurrying, just balancing. And in this reading, Temperance is speaking directly to you, Gemini. Because while this person has been running to readers, stirring up their circle, feeding the devil's obsession, you have been doing something very different. Whether consciously or not, you have been finding your equilibrium, stepping back, letting time do what force cannot. That is temperance, and it is one of the most powerful positions you could be standing in right now. But this card also carries a timeline energy. Temperance doesn't rush outcomes, it refines them. It says that whatever is coming, that call, that reconnection, that confrontation, it is not quite ready to land yet. There is still something being processed, something being alchemized on both sides before this situation fully reveals its next chapter. And here's what I want you to take from Temperance today, Gemini. When that call comes, when those prepared words from the Knight of Swords finally arrive, when all that Two of Cups emotion comes pouring through, your greatest strength will not be what you say back. It will be how steady you remain while saying it. Temperance is handing you the cups, Gemini. It's asking you to pour carefully, because how you handle what's coming next will set the tone for everything that follows. Not every call deserves an immediate answer. Gemini and Temperance knows exactly the difference between divine timing and someone else's urgency. The Five of Swords. Now this is the card that made everything click for me in this spread. The Five of Swords is a battlefield after the fight is already over. Someone standing there, collecting the swords, wearing the look of someone who technically won, but the victory feels hollow, empty. Because what they gained doesn't come close to what they lost in the process. Huh. And in this reading, that person is not you, Gemini. That reading, they went to the one that brought rage, that brought fear, that brought them to their knees. The Five of Swords tells me it didn't go the way they planned. Maybe they were looking for validation. Maybe they wanted the cards to paint you as the villain in their story, to confirm the narrative they've been building with the help of that Three of Cups crowd. Instead, the cards told them the truth. And the truth landed like a sword to the chest. The Five of Swords speaks to conflict, yes, but more specifically, it speaks to the cost of conflict. Every argument replayed in their mind, every word weaponized by the Knight of Swords, every obsessive loop fed by the devil, it has been taking something from them, quietly, consistently. And that reading forced them to see exactly how much they've already lost by staying in this cycle. Huh. For you, Gemini, the Five of Swords is both a validation and a warning. A validation that you were right to create distance, right to protect your energy, right to not engage with the chaos. And a warning, because someone who has fought hard and still feels empty, they don't always walk away gracefully. Sometimes they make one last move, one final reach, one phone call. So stay grounded, Gemini. The Five of Swords doesn't have to be your battle too. Let them carry the weight of that empty victory. Because the moment you pick up those swords and re-enter the fight, you hand them exactly the engagement they've been waiting for. The Ten of Pentacles. Of all the cards that could have shown up in this position, this one carries the most weight. And I mean that in the most grounded, most real sense possible. The Ten of Pentacles is the card of legacy, of everything that was built or everything that could have been built. It's the multi-generational card, the long game card, the card that asks not just, what do we have right now, but what are we leaving behind? And sitting here in this spread, after the Five of Swords hollow victory, after the Devil's obsession, after the Two of Cups undeniable connection, the Ten of Pentacles is showing me what this person actually lost sleep over when they sat down for that reading. It wasn't just about feelings, Gemini. It was about something bigger. Something they had started to picture, maybe a future, maybe a life, maybe a version of stability and belonging that had your name quietly written into it. And somewhere along the way, that picture got shattered. That is what brought the rage. Not the anger of someone who hates you, but the grief of someone who had already started building something in their mind, something real and lasting and solid. And the Ten of Pentacles showing up in this reading confirms that what they envisioned wasn't small, it wasn't casual, it had roots. Now here's what this card is saying to you directly, Gemini. The Ten of Pentacles is also your energy in this spread. It speaks to where you are headed towards something stable, something earned, something that genuinely lasts. And the universe is very clearly showing that whatever turmoil is being sent your way through that incoming call, through the charged energy of everyone in their circle, through the obsession the devil has been feeding, none of it belongs in the foundation you are building. The Ten of Pentacles doesn't build on chaos. It builds on clarity, on intention, on choosing wisely what and who you allow into your long game. That call is coming, Gemini. But your legacy, that is something no phone call can touch. And remember this, the Ten of Pentacles isn't built in a single conversation. It isn't won or lost in one emotional phone call. Every choice you make right now, every boundary you hold, Every moment you choose peace over chaos, that is a brick in your foundation, Gemini. The Seven of Cups. And just like that, the fog rolls in. The Seven of Cups is the card of illusion, of choices that aren't really choices, of a mind so overwhelmed by possibilities or by stories it has told itself that it can no longer see clearly what is real and what is simply a projection. And in this reading, this card is sitting squarely in their energy, Gemini. That reading they went to, the voices from the Three of Cups crowd, the obsessive loops of the devil, the grief underneath the Ten of Pentacles, all of it has created a version of you in their mind that may not even be accurate anymore. They have been living inside a story, replaying moments, reinterpreting words, building scenarios in the quiet hours when everything feels louder than it should. The Seven of Cups tells me they are not seeing you clearly right now. They are seeing a projection, a collection of memories, fears, hopes, and wounds all blended together into something that feels overwhelming because none of it is anchored in the present reality. And that call that's coming, it may carry some of that fog with it, Gemini, words shaped by illusion rather than truth. Emotions built on a version of events that has been filtered through too many late nights and too many outside opinions. Your job is not to step into their fog and try to navigate it for them. Your job is to stay in the light and let clarity be your answer. Because here's what the Seven of Cups ultimately reveals, Gemini. When someone is living inside that much illusion, no amount of explaining will cut through it. No perfect response, no carefully chosen words, no amount of patience will dissolve a fog that they themselves are generating. The only thing that pierces through illusion is time. And the unwillingness to feed it with your own energy. And the final card of today's reading, the King of Cups. I want you to just sit with this for a moment, Gemini, because after everything we've moved through today, the charging nights, the obsession, the battlefield, the fog, the foundation being built, the deck chose to close this reading with the King of Cups. And that is not an accident. The King of Cups is mastery of emotion, not suppression mastery. This is someone who has felt everything deeply, who understands the full spectrum of human feeling, and who has learned to rule from a place of calm rather than react from a place of wound. He sits on his throne in the middle of turbulent waters, and he does not flinch. In this reading, the King of Cups is you, Gemini. Or, more precisely, it is who you are being called to embody when that phone call arrives. Because everything this person is bringing your way, the rage, the fear, the prepared words of the Knight of Swords, the illusions of the Seven of Cups, the obsession the devil has been quietly feeding, all of it is turbulent water. And the King of Cups does not get pulled under by turbulent water. He acknowledges it, he understands it, he may even feel it deeply in that private, quiet place where only he can access, but he responds, not reacts. He leads with emotional intelligence, not emotional exposure. He knows the difference between compassion and vulnerability, and he protects both fiercely. Now, here is the part of this reading I have been holding back for you, Gemini. The King of Cups appearing as the final card tells me that this call, this situation, this entire storm of energy, it is actually an initiation, a test of how far you have come. Because the person reaching out is still operating from the energy of the earlier cards, impulsive, obsessive, foggy, wounded. And you have arrived at the King. That gap between where they are and where you are standing right now, that is your power, Gemini. Not power over them, power within yourself. The King of Cups doesn't need to win the conversation. He doesn't need to be right. He doesn't need to explain himself to anyone who went looking for ammunition rather than truth. He simply needs to remain to himself. And that, after everything today's cards have revealed, is more than enough. So let's bring everything together, Gemini. Today, the cards painted a picture that was never really about one phone call. It was about two people standing at very different points on the same road. One still running impulsive, obsessive, surrounded by outside voices, living inside a fog of their own making. And one who has quietly, steadily, arrived somewhere solid. That somewhere is you. The Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords showed us the energy being directed your way fast, charged, armed with words, and fueled by feelings that never fully resolved. The Three of Cups showed us the crowd behind the curtain, the whispered conversations, the reading that was supposed to bring answers but instead cracked something open. The Devil showed us the chain, the obsession, the cycle, the attachment dressed up as anger. And then, the Two of Cups reminded us that underneath all of it, there was something real, something that neither time nor distance nor rage has been able to fully erase. Temperance asked you to stay steady and trust divine timing over someone else's urgency. The Five of Swords showed us the cost of a battle already lost. The Ten of Pentacles pointed to everything you are building quietly, intentionally, brick by brick. The Seven of Cups warned you not to step into someone else's fog. And the King of Cups handed you your crown. So when that call comes, Gemini and the cards are very clear that it is coming. You do not have to answer it from a place of defense. You do not have to justify, explain, or match their energy word for word. You are allowed to receive it from exactly where you are standing right now, grounded, clear, whole. Whatever this person discovered in that reading about you, whatever struck them hard enough to bring rage, hard enough to bring fear, hard enough to bring them to their knees, the cards are telling you that your energy is not something to be afraid of. It is something to be respected by them, and most importantly, by you. You are not the chaos in this story, Gemini. You never were. You are the still water that everyone else keeps throwing stones into, hoping for a reaction, waiting for the ripples, mistaking your calm for weakness when it is anything but. This reading is now complete. And if something today landed in a place that needed to be touched, I want you to drop the word king in the comments below. Let that be your signal to yourself and to the universe that you have heard this, that you receive it, and that you are choosing to move forward from a place of power rather than pain. Thank you for being here, Gemini. The cards always know who needs to find them, and today, they found you for a reason. Until next time, stay sovereign, stay grounded, and trust that everything unfolding in your life right now is doing so in exactly the right order. The King of Cups never rushes his reign, and neither should you.